The mansion stood silent under the glow of the city lights, tall glass walls reflecting the stars that few ever paused to see. Inside, Richard Lawson, a billionaire known for his ruthless business mind and calm composure, sat alone in his study. People saw him as the man who had everything: wealth, fame, power. But behind those walls, he lived with a quiet loneliness money could never erase. Every morning, Richard's world followed a strict rhythm. His assistant arrived at 7 a.m., the gardener at 7:30, and his maid, Amoka, precisely at 8. Amoka wasn't like the others. She was young, polite, and always smiled, even when the world around her seemed heavy. She greeted everyone, from the guards to the kitchen staff, as if they mattered equally. Richard noticed it, the way she'd hum soft gospel songs while cleaning, the way she treated even broken things gently, as if she believed everything deserved a second chance. For months, he had observed her in silence. She never complained, never asked for more pay, and never came late, except that one night. The night that changed everything. It was a Friday, close to midnight. Richard had stayed up late reviewing reports when he noticed movement on the security cameras. Amoka was leaving, not in her uniform, but in old jeans and a faded jacket, holding a small plastic bag. Strange, he murmured, frowning. It wasn't the first time she left late, but something about her eyes that morning, tired, distant, made him uneasy. Out of curiosity, and maybe a bit of instinct, Richard decided to follow her. He slipped into a plain car, no driver, no security. For once, the billionaire became invisible. The streets grew darker as he followed her out of the gated community and into the older side of the city. Neon lights gave way to flickering bulbs, and the luxury cars disappeared. Soon, the scent of damp walls and fried plantain filled the air. Amoka stopped in front of a small, broken building. The roof was patched with old iron sheets, and the door hung loosely on one hinge. Richard parked a few meters away, watching silently. Then, he saw her kneel beside a tiny boy lying on a thin mat. The child's face was pale, his body fragile. Amoka dipped a cloth in water and gently wiped his forehead. "Mama's here," she whispered softly, her voice trembling. Richard froze. His maid had a child. The secret life of Amoka. He watched as she pulled out the small plastic bag. It held medicine, bread, and a single apple. She handed the apple to the boy. "Eat, my son," she said, forcing a smile. "Tomorrow, Mama will buy rice." The boy's weak voice cracked. "Did you eat, Mama?" Amoka hesitated. "Of course. Don't worry about me." But Richard saw the truth, the way her stomach rumbled quietly, the way her hands shook from exhaustion. She hadn't eaten. He sat there for minutes, unable to move, his chest tightening. This woman who cleaned his mansion, who smiled every day and treated his ward with care, was living in poverty, raising a sick child alone. He stayed there, watching until she turned off the dim lantern and curled beside her son, holding him close. For the first time in years, Richard cried. The realization. The next morning, Richard arrived at work earlier than usual. His staff noticed the silence in his voice, the faraway look in his eyes. Amoka arrived too, on time as always, her hair neatly tied, her smile soft. You'd never know she'd spend the night caring for a sick child. As she served him tea, Richard looked at her closely. There were dark circles under her eyes, but her kindness was still there, unchanged, unwavering. "Amoka," he said suddenly, "do you have family here?" She froze for a second. "Yes, sir. Just my son." "And his father?" He passed away," she whispered. 2 years ago." Richard nodded, pretending not to know more. "I'm sorry." She smiled faintly. "God gives, God takes." Her simplicity, her faith even in hardship, shook something inside him. He'd spent his life chasing numbers, profit, expansion, but this woman, who had nothing, still believed in hope. The plan. That evening, Richard called his lawyer. "I want to start a foundation," he said. "Anonymous. For single mothers and sick children. Make it happen within a week." He then contacted a private doctor and sent him, quietly, to the address he'd seen the night before. He told him to treat the boy, no matter the cost, but never to reveal who sent him. Days passed. Amoka noticed her son getting better. The doctor claimed it was a free community outreach. She wept with gratitude, never suspecting who was behind it. But Richard wasn't done. The twist. One morning, Amoka arrived at work and found the mansion unusually quiet. On the table lay a note. "Amoka, please meet me at the Lawson Community Center at noon." Confused, she went there, and froze. Before her stood a brand new building, clean walls, bright paint, a large sign reading, "The Grace Foundation." At the entrance stood Richard. "Sir," she whispered, trembling. He smiled gently. "You once said God gives and God takes. Today, maybe He's giving through me." Tears filled her eyes. "Sir, I don't understand." Richard walked closer. "I followed you that night, Amoka. I saw everything, your son, your struggles, your strength. You reminded me what real courage looks like. This foundation is for women like you, mothers who never give up." Amoka covered her mouth, sobbing. You helped my son." Richard nodded. "He's going to be fine. And you'll manage this place if you're willing." She fell to her knees, crying uncontrollably. "God bless you, sir. I don't know what to say." "You already said it," he replied softly. "Every time you smiled when life gave you no reason to, that was your prayer. I just happened to listen." Transformation. Months passed, and the foundation became a beacon of hope. Amoka ran it with the same compassion she once cleaned floors, only now, her kindness reached hundreds of women. Richard visited often, not as a boss, but as a friend. He found in her humility the peace he had been searching for all his life. One day, a journalist asked him why he started the foundation. Richard smiled. "Because sometimes, the richest people in the world are those who give, not those who have." A year later, the foundation held its first anniversary. The hall was full, women, children, volunteers. At the front row sat Amoka's son, now healthy and smiling. Amoka took the microphone, her voice shaking with emotion. "I used to clean rooms for a living," she said. "Now, I clean hearts. I once thought I was invisible. But one act of kindness changed everything. I want every woman here to know, you are not forgotten. You are stronger than your pain." Richard, sitting quietly in the audience, felt his heart swell. The crowd applauded, tears in many eyes. As Amoka ended her speech, she turned toward him and whispered softly, "Thank you for seeing me." He smiled, eyes glistening. "No, Amoka. Thank you for reminding me what it means to be human." Years later, people across the city knew the Grace Foundation as a place of miracles. Children who had once slept hungry now went to school. Mothers who had given up hope found jobs, homes, and dignity again. Richard never revealed that he was the founder. He said the world didn't need another billionaire's name, it needed more kindness. And every night, before locking up, Amoka would light a candle by the window and whisper a prayer, not for money, not for success, but for more hearts like Richard's. Because sometimes, the smallest act of compassion, even one done in secret, can change the world forever. Glowing star moral of the story. No act of kindness is ever wasted. True worth is not measured by what we keep, but by what we give.